You're very welcome to this short webinar on the tax and estate planning module that is part of our micro-credential courses and also one of the modules within the postgraduate diploma in financial planning. I'll just start off by just briefly giving you an overview of LIA. For those of you who don't know who we are, we pride ourselves on being the Centre of Excellence for the Education and Development of Finance Professionals. So supporting you to deliver to the standards that we set. And we feel that we have contributed to driving the standards over the last few years with regards to the development of education programs and deliver qualifications and accreditation through a range of courses to support you as finance professionals. Our key programs meet the central bank's requirements to allow you engage with clients to advise or sell retail financial products. And we've been in existence for over 40 years and we are ever evolving, and we welcome your feedback and participation with regards to the development of where we should go. My name is Brian Dunphy, and the reason I'm speaking to you today is I am a graduate of the Tax and Estate Planning module and also a CFP professional. So I've studied the course a few years ago, and hopefully I'll be able to give you some insights into my experience of it and also answer any questions you might have. We do have a Q&A box, so please feel free to populate any questions that you have in there, and I will try and answer them at the end of the slides. So when it comes to undertaking advanced qualifications and then taking on additional education programs post QFA, what are the options and routes that a financial advisor might consider? Well, the first option might be our micro-credential courses. And the four that are relevant to financial advisors are the investment management that leads to the SIA designation, retirement planning that leads to the RPA designation, risk management and insurance planning that leads to the FPRA designation, and tax and estate planning, which is the one we're going to talk about today. Another route would be some students might consider to undertake the postgraduate diploma in financial planning, which is the program that is the gateway to the CFP designation. So undertaking that program by attaining the postgraduate diploma in financial planning, that meets your eligibility to apply to the Financial Planning Standards Board Ireland to undertake the CFP licensing exam. Now, the four micro-credential modules on the left of the screen are part of the postgraduate diploma in financial planning, along with two other modules that I'll talk about in a few slides' time. So when it comes to micro-credential courses, some of you may be familiar with this terminology, some may not. But micro-credential courses are short, focused learning programs designed to help learners gain specific skills or knowledge in a particular area. So for example, the tax and estate planning module is focused on developing your education and knowledge in that specific topic. Our flexible micro-credential courses are delivered online, and each micro-credential course consists of one module, making it a compact yet impactful experience. These courses are ideal for anyone looking to upskill, reskill, or deepen their expertise in the financial field, and in particular for financial planners who are looking to enhance their knowledge in this specific topic. These courses are accredited by ATU Sligo, or Atlantic Technological University Sligo. So when it comes to the tax and estate planning module, this is a 12-week course, and during the course, you'll develop a comprehensive understanding of key tax areas, and they include the following. So you'll be able to appraise the legal concepts and principles underlying and the fundamental features of the Irish taxation system and framework relevant to financial planning. So that includes income tax, capital gains tax, capital acquisitions tax, corporations tax, and stamp duty. So really what you're looking at is the topics that will impact the financial plan and advice that you're giving to your clients and enable you to take that knowledge on board when you're mapping out the financial goals and the key milestones within a financial plan and taking them on board when giving the advice. You'll also be able to compile and determine current, deferred, and future tax liabilities as part of the financial planning process. So when you're mapping out a cash flow for your client over the next 20 years, you'll take on board the current tax legislation, but you'll future map it out for the clients, and taking on board then any of their key goals. and impact of any of the other taxes on disposal of assets or acquisition of assets. You'll be able to elaborate the taxation reliefs, exemptions, and deductions relevant to financial planning. You'll be able to measure how different financial products are taxed and the effect this has on the client's overall financial position. And then you'll also be able to evaluate the strategies and techniques used to preserve and distribute accumulated assets and the legal, tax, and financial aspects of this process. So that's very important when it comes to distribution of wealth and, unfortunately, estate planning, which is part of the financial planning process. And finally, you will be able to compile and determine the types of taxes that apply to financial products as part of the client's estate. So this knowledge, it's definitely crucial for enhancing the financial planning process, and it certainly allows you to offer more differentiated and impactful advice to your clients. For me, this module, out of the 6 that I would have studied on the way to attaining the CFP designation, is probably the one that I learned the most, because it's the one that I knew the least amount going into the course. So a lot of people that when they speak to me about undertaking the program or also the modules on their own, one of the biggest concerns might be, I haven't studied accountancy for a long time. Well, I didn't study accountancy for, I think, over 20 years before I took up this module. And what I can assure you is it's not a concern you should be worried about. The lecturer starts with the approach that everybody in the class has the same level of knowledge, and that's at the baseline that he starts with. So you wouldn't be overly concerned that you haven't studied accountancy or tax or estate planning in detail for a number of years. And also, what might be a good approach is to have a clear mindset going into the course, and maybe not think that you know certain amounts. Maybe approach it with a blank sheet of canvas and see what you're going to learn from the course, and then measure it against what you would have previously known. And it's a really good approach to take. But I would allay any fears about anybody who would be concerned about, I have no knowledge or haven't studied accountancy for a number of years. You'll be taken on a journey from a very low baseline with David across the whole 12 weeks. The course itself is structured over 12 weeks, but it is a level 9 module on the National Framework of Qualifications. So to put that into context, those of you who hold the QFA is at level 7 on the National Framework of Qualifications. So this level of education program is 2 steps above that. So you are taking on, a course that you will be challenged, but it is very, very manageable. And in particular, in the way it's structured and the way that the course is delivered to you. So it commences in February, on the 4th of February, and the course will run from February to May over 12 weeks. And it's delivered by online evening lectures. Those lectures are live and they're delivered from 6 to 8:30 p.m. But you should also know that the lectures are recorded, and that is a very useful study resource for when you wish to go back over material for your revision, or if you wish to revisit some topic that you felt was a little bit more tricky than others. They're very useful resources. So the recordings of the lectures are in your study resources at least 48 hours after the live event has happened. I would, though, encourage everybody who undertakes this program to try and attend all of the lectures live, because that's when you get access to the lecturer in front of you and you get to ask as many questions as you like, and he will answer them there for you live. And it's always a good learning experience, whether you ask questions or not. There will be others in the class who will be asking questions, and you get to interact and maybe expand on what they're asking about. So as I said, it commences on the 4th of February, and the course is assessed in 2 ways. It's assessed by way of continuous assessment and then end of module assessment. How that works is that during the 12 weeks, 2 of those weeks will not be lectures. They will actually be assessments on the night instead of a lecture. And I can tell you that those assessments are scheduled to happen on week 6 and week 9. Now, my approach to undertaking these assessments was, I would look at the dates and I would look at the structure with regards to what's going to be assessed in those exams. And I would take on board that an exam happening in week 6 can only be on content that's been covered up to that. So I would try and ensure that from day one, I would stay on top of the material to ensure that I'm giving myself the best chance of success in these two in-class assessments. And the reason for that is that both of them are worth 25% each. The end of module exam is worth 50% of your overall mark. And the final exam is scheduled to be on Saturday, the 10th of May. So your overall result will be the combined result of those three assessments added together. And your objective is to get 40% or more to pass the course. So with two assessments worth 25% each, if you do very well, there is a chance that you will get very close to that 40% mark before you go into your final exam. That is a real good comfort to know where you're at as you progress through the 12 weeks, because you will have the results of those two in-class exams before you go and do your final exam. So you really know what your goals are, and then also it gives you a chance of really excelling and doing really well in your final exam. The enrollment deadline for this course is that the 24th of January, so just 2 weeks before the first lecture starts. In advance of each of the lectures, you will have access to the lecture material. So a good approach to this might be that in advance of your Tuesday night lecture, I would encourage you to maybe find a couple of hours to read the material that's going to be covered on that week's lecture. Because one of the challenges that I found was it was very difficult to read and listen as the lecture happens. So once I'd read the material, whether I understood it or not, it was the second time of seeing it when I was actually at the lecture, which made it a little bit more familiar for my benefit of learning. And it allowed me to focus on areas that when I had read it, maybe I'd note that that's something I need to really be attentive for, or I wanted to ask questions on the night about. So reading the material that the lecturer is going to go through in advance is a good, useful approach. I also, and this just was because of my approach and trying to balance my work-life commitments, I decided that on the night of my class, I would take a break after the lecture and then do whatever homework was assigned for the week. I would try and have a first attempt at it on the same night. So I'd go and grab a coffee and then maybe spend an hour having a first attempt at whatever homework was assigned, because the homework was probably relevant and related to what had been covered that week. So it was fresh in my mind, and it was really testing me with regards to, did I take it on board and could I approach doing some of these calculations and some of the tasks with regards to understanding what was being delivered on that given night. I then probably revisit that maybe at some point later in the week and go back over the actual homework again just to see, is that knowledge being embedded and carry into the next lecture. And then I'd start my cycle again. I'd download the material for the next week, read it in advance of the lecture, and that would be my operating rhythm. And that really is the key for me to success, that allowed me that when it came to week 6 of your first assessment, I felt I was embedding the knowledge week on week, and then when I get into revision mode, it really was sinking in. I also found using the sample exam papers that are provided to you very beneficial, because this module, unlike any of the others within the postgrad, you will find that this module is very specific with regards to what you'll be asked in the exam questions and what the answers are. It is very black and white. As you can imagine, you either get tax right or you get it wrong. So that is something you need to take on board from day one. But the lecturer will guide you all the way through and outline what he expects from various different types of exam question. So with that in mind, who is your lecturer? Well, your lecturer is a gentleman called David Clancy, and David is the managing director and founder of Clancy and Associates, which was established in 1998. But what is very important from David's point of view is David is a practitioner, not just an academic. So you're getting taught by somebody who actually practices tax advice, but he's also a CFP professional, and he's highly regarded by former students on this module and the postgraduate diploma in financial planning. I personally feel that David now is a colleague in the industry that we are all part of, and that I could, if I needed to, reach out to him with regards to any query, or if I was referring a client onto him. He is very much part of my circle of friends and colleagues within the industry, and he's a very approachable guy. But also, I probably would have found that I enjoyed this module as much as any of the others, even with the fear that I would have had of, I'm not an accountant, will I be able for this? And David, he has a wealth of experience in the tax industry, and he's become a leading expert in the areas of income tax, capital gains tax, capital acquisition tax, trusts, and estate planning, and in particular, personal financial planning. So he knows the journey that some of you might be on with regards to your career, and also he would be able to engage with you with regards to what you do day in, day out in certain parts of your job, because he practices and that's what he does. So the other method in which you could potentially do this module is as part of the postgraduate diploma in financial planning. So it can be done on a standalone basis, which is the micro-credential route, which you then get an award from ATU Sligo, or it can be undertaken as part of the postgraduate diploma in financial planning. And the postgraduate diploma in financial planning is highly regarded and is the gateway to attaining the prestigious CFP designation, or the Certified Financial Planner. And the program has been designed in conjunction with leading advisors and industry experts, such as your lecturer, David Clancy. And it will ensure that the content is relevant, practical, and immediately transferable. And that's something that I certainly learned in the tax and estate planning module. Week on week, I was learning stuff that I never knew before that I could apply into my job, and I didn't have to wait until the end of the course to be able to take the learnings from this course. So there's no doubt that in this module in particular, every week you're going to learn something new about taxation, and that will apply to what you do with your clients every day of the week. And it will also bring your knowledge to the highest international standards in financial planning. The postgraduate diploma is made up of 6 modules. It is obviously at the level 9 on the National Framework of Qualifications, because all of the micro-credential modules are at that level. And the delivery is online leaving lectures. They are from 6 to 8:30. Each module is on a different night to allow students, if they wish, to undertake more than one module per semester. And all of the modules are assessed by continuous assessment and end of module exam. And just to give you a flavor of how do the 6 modules map out, well, this is exactly how they would work if you were to take them in order of 1 to 6. So you would have principles and practices of financial planning. You would have risk management and insurance planning that leads to the FPRA designation. You would have tax and estate planning, which is this module we're talking about, investment management, which leads to the SIA designation, retirement planning that leads to the RPA designation, and integrated personal financial planning is the final module. You can take any of the modules in any particular order. However, you can't undertake the last one, integrated personal financial planning, unless you've completed the other 5 or are studying the last of the other 5 at the same time. And it makes sense because that last module tests your ability to apply everything that you've learned in the other modules to date. The reason why people would potentially consider the journey to CFP is that at present, there are approximately 192,000 CFP professionals in 27 countries around the world, and approximately 1,000 of them are in Ireland. And Ireland is one of the fastest growing populations of the CFP professionals globally. To meet the requirements for sitting the CFP exam, you must hold the QFA designation and have completed this postgraduate diploma in financial planning, and also have 3 years relevant practitioner experience. So hopefully I've given you an overview of undertaking the tax and estate planning module and what it will do for you with regards to your knowledge and what your expectations might be by undertaking this program. I'll just briefly have a look at the questions that are applicable here. The first one is, what are the entry requirements to take this course? Well, the first entry requirement is that you have to either have the QFA, or you have a business degree, or a degree with a business element attached to it. what I would say to anybody who's concerned about the entry requirements is to reach out to us directly, and we will consider all your existing qualifications and look and see do they meet the criteria to undertake the course. So I would say just contact us directly if you're concerned about your existing qualifications. The next question is, what's the format of the final exam? Well, the format is, I'll say about all the exams, is all the exams are undertaken online. So there's no physical aspect to the course at all. You will undertake your exams wherever you wish. So you can actually, when I was studying, I had classmates who were actually in Australia at the time, so they were able to study while they were maybe traveling. So you can undertake your exams anywhere once you have a steady broadband connection, and also you need to have a webcam so that the person observing you doing your exam can see that you're in an environment where you have access to no material, or no access to any material to help you do the exam. So it's a clear desk policy. With regards to the format, on the final exam, you're examined on the full 12 weeks. That's why I emphasize the advantage of the continuous assessment is those in week 6 and 9. Generally, David will assess you on the topics up to that point. So in up to week 6, it would be weeks 1 to 5, and then he will tend to tell you that the next exam will be on the next 3 weeks, or specific topics. So you are signposted with regards to what content, but the final exam is based on the full 12 weeks. So it's really advantageous to take advantage of the in-class continuous assessments. What's the next one is, what's the assessment of what's the format of the 2 assessments during the term? Well, hopefully I've answered that. They're in class online, so you would do them exactly the way we're communicating with each other now, online using a webcam. And the content that you're being assessed on is based on the content that's covered up to that point. Next question is, what is the cost of the module? The cost of the module is €1,100. What I would say to anybody is I would recommend you have a look at our website, www.lia.ie, and there is a section on course funding. And there may be eligibility for some of you for course funding available through various different partnerships and collaborations that we have. And again, I would recommend anybody to reach out to us if you would wish to get more information on that. It is on a first come, first served basis, and there also is criteria, but it does help with the cost of the module. Another question is, do you have to be an LIA member to do this course? And somebody's QFA qualification is not held with LIA. No, it's not necessary that you are a member of LIA or you hold your QFA. What we do look for is that we seek evidence that you have your QFA, and then we will speak to you about how you become an LIA student for the purposes of this program. You might find when you speak with us, and I would encourage you to speak directly with me, in relation to attaining the various designations. If you're undertaking the postgraduate diploma in financial planning, some of the designations, you would need to have your QFA with LIA in order to activate them, but I can talk to you about that separately. With regards to this module in specifically, no, it's not necessary for you to be a member or have your QFA with us. We would just look for the evidence that you meet the entry criteria. I'm just working my way through a few more questions. Somebody asked about the continuous assessment dates. If you're not available, I would say to you to reach out to us directly in advance of enrollment to have a discussion about what we potentially can do, and we will try and accommodate, but there's no guarantee that we can. What we'll do is we'll have a discussion and see if there is an alternative option with regards to sitting that first continuous assessment. So really, if you can submit your inquiry to us directly, we'll be able to answer that. Another question, if for the postgraduate diploma in financial planning, if you have some of the credentials already, are you exempt from those? For example, the SIA or RPA. If you hold the SIA designation, yes, you would be exempt the investment management module, as you would have studied that syllabus already. If you hold the RPA designation, it would depend on how you attain that. If it was attained through our previous variation of the retirement planning course, which was a level 7 program, unfortunately, you're not exempt the retirement planning module. You would still need to undertake that. However, it's taken on board that you have studied previously on the level 7 program, so the cost of that module would be reduced by 50%. But if you've attained the RPA through our level 9 route by studying the micro-credential or the retirement planning module already, yes, that is an exemption that you'd be eligible for on that module. Um, Angus, you've asked the question is what support material is available for the course? Well, in advance of your lecture, you will be provided with the material by the lecturer in your study resources, and that's available to you typically a couple of days in advance. And we would encourage everybody to download them and read them. But David also recommends that students under the required reading are expected to purchase the Irish Taxation Law and Practice most up-to-date version, which can be purchased from the Irish Tax Institute, because that book he would reference throughout his course. So you are advised upon enrollment which is the referenced reading material, and you'd be encouraged to purchase that book so that you have access to it. Somebody mentioned, Catherine, you've asked, did I mention inheritance tax? I didn't call it inheritance tax, but it is covered. So there's capital gains tax and capital acquisitions tax. So they're both covered, and that covers off inheritance tax, if that's okay. Is this the only tax course that LAA run? This is the only education program that we run. We would run various CPD events on topics to update people on taxation, but this is the education program in relation to tax and estate planning. Somebody's just asked me to go over the requirements for entry. Well, the requirements are that you hold either the QFA and 3 years experience in financial services, or you hold a business a degree, a 2-2 honors degree with a business related subject in there. I'm just working my way through the questions. Would it be much harder than the QFA exams, or can you even compare? They're very different. I would say nothing's impossible for anybody to undertake, because the program is structured that everybody's going to be on the same learning journey. The fact that you have the QFA is the key requirement, is that you've studied and understand the core subjects within that syllabus, because it is expected that you would understand some of the terminology that would have been covered off in your QFA carried into this sort of course. But I wouldn't be afraid of undertaking it, because we're the majority of us go from QFA to undertake this program. So that's the natural progression. So I really would say it is more than possible for anybody to undertake this. But it is important about you applying yourself and undertaking the work that's needed to be successful in this. It doesn't need to take over your life. You just need to be organized, and you need to just make sure that you're dedicated to that operating rhythm that you set for yourself. So if you set time during the week that you're going to read material, make sure you stick to that and be disciplined. And then if you decide, you're going to definitely attend the lectures live, make sure you participate and have your questions, ready, or ensure that you do engage with the lecturer if you're concerned about any aspect of the learning. Brian, you've asked about, you're primarily interested in the estate planning element of this course. How much of the course is covered on this topic? Um, I'll I'll just go back on my memory of the course. There is a strong element of this. I would say maybe about 30% is built into estate planning, because, or maybe more, because David constantly refers to the reliefs in relation to transfer of wealth, but he does emphasize that this is all about learning the elements that build into a financial plan, and estate planning is a key part of the financial planning process. So there's a strong element of it, but I would say maybe in around 30% is covering estate planning. But if you wish to get more specific, I can ask David. If you contact me, we can ask David directly exactly how much is going to be covered off on estate planning. Another question, are exams multiple choice? No, the exam questions are not multiple choice. They are very specific questions on the topics that are covered. And obviously, as you're learning some taxation and there is calculations within this, there will be some maths elements to this. Finally, just looking at one or two more. Does this course have a designation like some of the other micro-credential courses? No, unfortunately, this one doesn't carry a designation. It really is just to enhance your knowledge in this topic and also meet the criteria of one of the modules within the postgraduate diploma that does lead to the CFP. Within the postgraduate diploma, there's 6 modules and 3 of them carry designations as you work your way through them, but the other 3 don't. They just enhance your learning experience on that specific topics that you're covered off in those modules. So people have just asked me, what is the name of the book again? So the name of the book that is referenced is Irish Taxation, Law and Practice. And the most up-to-date version of that is the one that's referenced. So look, I've worked my way through them. I think all of the questions. I'll just take one or two more. So there's a lot of questions that come in. If you don't have the relevant entry requirements, can you still take the course? What I would say to you is, again, please engage with us directly on that, and we will look at your specific case and be able to give you a specific answer on whether you can meet the criteria to be eligible for this course. We have to satisfy ourselves because the Micro-Credential award is awarded by ATU Sligo, so we are bound by meeting the entry requirements that they set, but we can approach them on each case will be assessed on its own merit. So please do reach out to us directly. And then Lorraine, is it possible to see a previous exam paper prior to registering for the course? Unfortunately, no. No, they're not available, but the material once enrolled, you'll get access to all the material that you need to study the course, but previous exam papers aren't distributed to anybody, unfortunately. So hopefully I've answered all your questions. I would thank everybody for taking part today. I really appreciate you taking the time to engage with us. What I will put up on screen now is my contact details, and I would say if anybody has any questions or any specific queries on what you've asked here, in particular about entry requirements, please feel free to reach out to me. You can get to me by email. It's brian.dunphy@lia.ie. My mobile number is there on screen, or if you visit our website, you will have a chat facility that pops up about 20 seconds after you come onto our landing page. If you wish to arrange to speak with me, you just have to point that out in the chat, and we'll arrange a call with you. You can also go into the home pages for any of the micro-credential courses or the postgraduate diploma, and you can request a scheduled call with me, and I will arrange that. You can book that online at a time and date that suits you based on the diary that you get access to. So, feel free. We're here to support you. We're here to be with you through your journey. And we want to make sure that you get all the support necessary for you to be successful in the course that you undertake. I would certainly encourage anybody who's interested in doing this course. I would not look back and think that was not worth my while. It brought me to a different level of understanding of taxation than I previously had, and it stands to you in the financial planning process. Tax. I always say you're born with tax, you live with tax, and you die with tax. So it's something that you'd be well worthwhile investing in to understand it. So look, thanks a million for taking your time, and hopefully we shall engage with you all again soon. Take care.